All right, so for this little extra bonus content, we're doing a VPIP review of a 500 Zoom session I played last week, where Andrew's going to kind of lead the discussion, tell me what he would have done, maybe ask questions about why I did what I did, or maybe just tell me it's straight up bad.
Hopefully none of that. Hopefully everything is perfectly played. That's what we aim for.
So
just pure call this one. Probably pre-bet some of the lower and more connected.
So 6-7 and 6-5?
Yep, like 5-4 type stuff. I think the gapper is probably significantly worse. Pretty trivial check fold. So funny, in this spot, there's nothing you can do to make yourself not look super strong. And then I think obviously we just continue with shoves here. There's no point. We would never call. So hopefully you go on.
What's the bottom of our shoving range?
These guys are pretty aggressive pre-flop, so I'd probably still shove queens and ace king suited, and then ace king offsuit becomes pretty close. Never shoving jacks, never shoving tens, just folding those. Do you agree with that, or would you do something different?
Yeah, no, I think that's about what I would do. Even though people are aggressive, cold four betting from this position is still going to be not that frequent of a thing. This guy's 3-betting 12% in this spot, so it's not like you can just cold four bet a ton and expect to make a ton of money here versus 2 uncapped ranges.
Yep.
So we shove, and this was we ran it twice, and we ended up winning both, which was nice. Not the best of flops, but okay. So
here we're playing a rec. Looks pretty passive. I assume even on this texture, we just want to bet 1/3. Yep. Here, I don't know this player. Is this guy rec? Do you know?
I think he's a recreational player because his stats, for one, he's playing 23-14 with a 6% 3-bet.
Yep.
So, in general, very passive from what we've seen.
So then because of that, I expect you to size up on this flop. The board texture kind of leans towards a larger size to begin with, and then also, against a weak player, if he's passive, we don't expect him to check raise that much. Unblocking top pair, just having the nuts.
So, would you have 2 sizings here against a fish, or potentially many sizes?
Yeah, I think, we just, who cares about, the structure we'd have against regs. With this hand specifically, I want to go big, but if I have a weak hand that can't bet big, but I still want to bet, and I can take a small size, right? You can kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah, so you bet
if I had ace-5 here, the hand benefits from betting, but I don't want to bet large, right? So I just block that.
Right, so we basically end up blocking all of our, say, weak 10x, 5x, and 8x,
yep.
And then betting a bigger size with our, say, strong 10x and maybe some really strong draws, and then our overpairs and this type of hand.
And then pocket 10s, I would probably block and not bet big and stuff like that. Just doesn't remove.
So I went with half pot, which I think is fine. It's probably better to go slightly bigger than this. We obviously, when we have a set, if I say I had ace 10, I would definitely go bigger. Mm-hmm. When you have a hand like this, we obviously want to encourage some light floating with this hand, because it's nice to just have hands that are literally drawing dead, and we can still build the pot later in the hand.
Yep.
So the only
you guys are also deep, though, is the other consideration as well.
Yeah, I still think we just get to bet very big on most turns anyways. So, but for sure. So he folds, but yeah, definitely I agree. Sizing up is
as long as I'm not blocking there, I think that would be a big mistake.
Yeah.
Here, I mix 4 bets and calls, 4 bet half the time, call half the time.
Yeah, this guy, I'm not a big sample, but he's been pretty aggressive, so we call.
Yeah. Checks, interesting. I expect to face a lot of half pot bets in this texture. When he checks, I think this hand, given the suits we have, is going to stab a lot in theory. It just depends on how our opponents structuring their check raise. Some guys will just basically check raise every time they check here, so then block or betting a hand like this sucks because you get punished way too hard. But against guys who are playing a bit more reasonably, I think stabbing this hand makes a lot of sense. You can fold out some king queen potentially, and then We have a lot of equity, obviously, in addition to our overcards.
What about like Queen Jack? What are you doing with that type of hand?
That hand, I'm probably checking back a bit more because we have a gut shot to the nuts, and so getting check raised with that hand sucks because I'm not going to get to realize our equity as often. Obviously, we can call flop, but then if we face a turn to him, we have to fold.
Yeah.
So that hand gets punished more.
I feel like I checked. I actually don't remember this hand, but I think I agree. Like I wish I had bet, not knowing what I did, and I could just block. So I do check.
I think this might be a mistake we might make, like both of us, too often. Is like this hand does suck getting check raised. Like we have 2 clean overcards and we have some backdoors, but like I think we want to just stab. Like I think we still want to just stab, even though it sucks getting check raised.
Yeah,
like,
we don't have that much equity that it's like we can't. This goes 2 ways. For one, we don't have that much equity. For 2, we can't only stab 0 equity hands. Like we want some hands that when we get called can barrel somewhat effectively on turns.
It also feels worse to bet fold this hand than it actually is in reality. Like you said, we don't have that much equity, so bet folding isn't that bad. It just kind of seems, it feels bad when it happens, but it's not the end of the world. Like when they do check raise us, it's usually because they have a better hand, and like in some cases that saves us money because we turn jack and have a cooler, bigger overpairs or whatever.
Yeah, he probably has more equity-driven hands than say like ace 9 of clubs or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I think just have to hold turn. So typically I just block here, as you do, and like we can go smaller than 1/3 like we did as well. It was good. And then against a small raise, no real reason to fast play. Just call, keep his bluffs in. Turn's interesting here. Like I don't expect people to check raise, and then check the turn with that much strength. So I think we could block here, or if we think he's just airballing it on the flop, we could trap his hand because we don't need much protection, and then bluff kept server. So I think it'll be either way.
Mm-hmm. I thought he would have some like kind of just like under pairs with a heart, and maybe some air balls, and our hand doesn't need that much protection. And then obviously we don't really love betting and getting jammed on here because like we can never fold this hand, but
yeah,
like once we get jammed on, it's pretty gross. So it's like pretty nice to just take this hand to the river.
Yep.
I'd be like more comfortable just like bet folding if I have pocket kings no heart.
Yep, I'm on board. And once he checks again, like he is either very, very tricky with the super nuts, or he just has an air ball that's going to fold, or he has like some jack X or turn to queen, like jack X that he was raising for protection, or like was bluffing and turn to queen. So I would probably just bet like on the 3/4 sides, like trying to target his 1 pair hand.
Funny, back-to-back hands, mono against the same guy.
Yeah. I expect him to do a lot of check, like small blind on these mono textures, should be checking a lot. That being said, I think like even though it's a mono board, I think I would bet most of my 2 pair. It is kind of nice to check back like this week 2 pair on occasion, and like we have some unexpected votes on later streets. But I would lean towards mostly betting.
Yeah, I don't remember what I did in game. I feel like this hand does check a lot in Pio when you have bottom 2 on these boards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it probably does.
But I bet
I would make it do that. I would check back. Obviously, not bluffing with 2 pair and can't get called by worse. So
lost the minimum.
So yeah, just like against a weaker player like the ISO super wide blind or blind, so I would do the same thing here. And then just looking to block the flop, expecting like lots of folds. Our hand benefits from protection. Yeah, just do that with my entire range. Turn, I would check back always. And when a passive looking recreational overbets the river, I'm not really looking to call anything too light, so I think I just pitch this one.
What do you think he reps in this line?
It is interesting. Like, he'd have to slow play flushes that seems unlikely, and then maybe he doesn't bet. Uh, Maybe he doesn't bet this size with two pairs, so it is kind of weird. Thing is, like, while that's true, I don't know if it weights. Like, I don't know if we should weight that more than the fact that like a passive looking red just bet huge into us, right?
Yeah, I remember in game just thinking, like, obviously having a club is nice, but I didn't really expect him to slow play flushes versus the small size. So it's kind of nice blocking both two pair and straights with this hand, because if he doesn't have a flush, that's the type of hand. Like, I don't think he ever does this with, say, ace jack.
I agree.
So
I just don't think he'll do it with two pair either. Like, depends. Obviously, we don't have a big sample on this guy, so like we're making a lot of assumptions. If he is a fish, which he likely is, I just wouldn't expect him to overbet thinly. So it's kind of like flush or air, in my opinion.
yeah.
Again, like if that's the case, then we also think he never slow plays the flop with the flush, then we should call. But like, I think it is somewhat likely that he just ends up like slow playing the flop. Fish kind of like to trap too sometimes in these spots.
Right. What sizing would you hero this against?
Half pot every time.
Okay. Anything bigger than half pot you fold?
Yeah. Like, I hate when they pot it. Like, when they pick specifically pot, I won't call unless I know that they're the type of fish who pots as a bluff.
Yeah.
I can just see it a few times. And then, like, overbets I'd always fold as well. And then, like, I think snap calling versus half pot in particular.
Yeah, I think I mean it's one of those spots where I think my reasoning's correct in that I just don't think he really has good hands here that often, but it's also maybe more important that maybe he just never bluffs for this size, even if like he only ever has like this type of hand in this line.
Okay, so I was wrong. So he did overbet even a shitty two pair. But that makes the calling even worse, right?
Yeah.
He's like going thinner than we expect.
I still think this is probably the weakest. I mean, it is the worst two pair, but like I think this card's still relevant and this card's still relevant, so I don't hate where my head's at, but
yep,
probably just unnecessary. I guess I called because he's in the big blind.
Yeah, and we're facing min raise, like personally I'd play 3-bet or fold, but facing min raise, like it's kind of mandatory to have flats on the button. So working in some of these makes sense, especially with weak players behind. 3 ways on the flop, I think we always check our hand, just like not enough benefits betting. And I would fold facing big bet and call. Yeah. So our hand's too weak. So small blind looks like a fish. This texture's dry enough, right? And we're in position against both players. I think I would start with a small bet. Like, our hand benefits from protection, and obviously, the fish are gonna call, the big blind gonna fold a lot, which is a good result. Easy check back on the turn. I think on the 10 we just checked as well.
Somehow, this is a reg.
On the big blind, yeah. I don't understand.
Seems
and
terrible.
Bluff this river or do anything interesting.
Yeah, seems really bad.
Like, this is go back to the river. Like, that's a great run out and great spot for the big blind to bluff here, because we as under the gun should very, very rarely have an 8, and the small blind doesn't have an 8 because he just checked on the river. Like, obviously he could go for check raise or whatever, but it seems terrible. So it's like a good spot for the big blind to, like, if he's gonna float a hand like this on the flop, like, this is kind of the dream spot for you.
Yeah, like he literally can't arrive at this river with a worse hand.
Yeah, and it's like just a great spot to bluff in general. Like, I would, if I were him, I think like using a pretty large overbet size would be great here. Like 7-9 got there, Queen 9 got there. He has the most 8x by far. Like,
yeah.
Anyway. We ISO fish, get 3-bet by reg. I think we have an easy call here. So again, facing a check on a similar texture. I think this hand in particular, like, we want to do less stabbing and just check back and realize it. Expect to see a lot of checks again, and like, how are you approaching this spot? Like, I'm thinking we could have 2 sizes potentially, or be more polar and just use one bigger size. Like, if we have 2 sizes, do we want to block and bet close to pot, or do we want to just like put everything in half pot, or what's your approach here?
I think that I would like to be a bit more linear, I think, versus population once they check twice here, especially when they isolate a recreational player. So I think I could have two sizes here, but I also just could protect my range and just use like kind of a catch-all, like 2/3 half pot size.
Yep. Makes sense.
I went for the block. So maybe I have two sizes and it's block and bigger bet.
Yeah. What would your big size be?
I still wouldn't go that big, but yeah, like probably like 100, like just in the pot, $100 around there, like maybe pot.
Interesting. I think we just call obviously versus size. No reason to raise. I expect him to just be like bluffing or just have like pocket eights or something weird. Like, I don't know what this is.
What do you think he check calls turn with instead of betting himself to bluff this river?
That's a very good question. I don't know, but this doesn't seem like a value bet to me. Like, I don't know what he. Like, it seems like a thin value bet at least. It doesn't seem like anything about it. But like, I don't know if he ever like checks king queen with the club twice, like versus your size, he obviously has to feel it. Although I do expect that hand is mainly bet on previous weeks.
Yeah, like I don't think I can fold my hand, obviously, but it is kind of interesting because I don't really know what bluffs he has in this line because he's not going to do this with ace king or ace queen. It would just be like, it would make no sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he has kind of what we expect. Like, I honestly do expect to see random hands like this a decent amount. Obviously, he bet really small, but
I think he should go bigger if he's going to do that.
Yeah, because then he could rep. He's turning like ace king into a bluff. I think he should just like shove this hand. Actually,
yeah, like that's why. Like when I first saw the $86, I'm like, you should never do this. And then he nutted. Like obviously he did it, so I was wrong. But it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why you do this. Like we have so many one pair hands to bluff catch with. Like you should leverage your advantage. And
maybe he's inducing against me. Like if he thinks I'm too aggressive in these spots, or I'll go too thin for value. Maybe.
Right. Similar texture as before, just betting everything. I think now probably just check, no overcard, no.
I thought that this hand makes a decent double barrel because we unblock all ace highs and king highs, we unblock all backdoor flush draws, and it's pure rainbow, and I have some like decent removal to his turn continuing range, both in the, I mean, it's not that relevant, but like he will sometimes float this flop with maybe some like 6-7, probably not with the clubs, but more so like the jack 10, jack 9, those type of hands.
Yeah, potentially.
So I just bumped for this.
I mean, unblocking like all the backdoor flush draws is probably the best reason to bet.
Yeah.
It just sucks because we're drawing dead to a queen, right?
For sure, but I know we're supposed to have some like garbage here, and I just felt like this specific combo is quite nice because we don't block a 10 or a 9, which means like obviously on this turn he's going to have like connect with some of those hands, but some of his floats containing a 10 or I guess it's more actually that's a bad removal. So it's more just important that we block some of his best top pairs, which is queen jack, because he's never going to 3-bet that pre-flop. And then we unblock all of the backdoor flush draws with this combo, which is nice. So I just thought like the jack and the removal are nice.
Yeah, makes sense. I would probably like, so I do like barreling the turn sometimes just because we unblock all the backdoor flush draws, but I think like going bet check bet is also.
Mm-hmm. I just know we want some zero equity stuff on the turn to like bluff some rivers and stuff, so I can use that as a bluff on all the jack 10 completes, jack 9 completes. So here I'd probably open this because a very passive recreational on the button, and then a recreational player in the big blind as well.
Makes sense. Sure bet.
4-bet he flats.
Interesting. Like I would still just mainly bet like my range on this texture. Like obviously in these positions he can have like sets, all sets at some frequency, but he doesn't really have any two pairs. So just betting everything seems good. And versus the click. Obviously, we're just showing. I don't know if we do any calling. Oh, I don't know if we do calling versus the click, really. Like, I think it's probably shove or fold as it continue.
Yeah, and if we do call, I mean, versus that sizing position, we probably have some calls, but it's going to be more so if we have some random really strong hands that have 4-bet bluffed and got there, and then obviously like aces and maybe kings with a spade.
Mm-hmm.
If we have like ace king of spades, we can also just maybe call, because if he's bluffing, he's drawing dead type thing.
Yep. So blocker, I probably would size up on this texture. I think it's so good for us.
Mm-hmm.
Probably go at least half.
As an exploit, I thought it's fine to use this hand as a smaller size because we don't really care with this hand. Like, we're cool with him floating kind of wide when we have ace queen.
Turn, like, because we have a heart, we can barrel. We can also check and call potentially against small bet. But I probably would barrel, especially on the 10, being it so good for us. If we have a heart. Yes. And I think pure check now. Like, now the ace of hearts obviously is really bad. And then we have an interesting decision versus jam, yeah. So he's never going to bluff with the ace of hearts. He doesn't really have the queen of spades at all. So, like, we don't block any bluffs. 4-5 misses. 8-9 hearts misses. All the clubs miss. Like, I would probably call this somewhere off.
Yeah, like, what do you think he value bets in this? So in his mind, we this is one of those spots where people are probably too polar, because we bet flop, we barrel turn big. When we get to this river and check, it would appear like we mainly have check folds or check calls that are quite strong, and we're protecting our checking range on the 7. So it's not like he can value bet that thinly in this spot. And he doesn't have that many thin value bets to begin with, because he's going to 4-bet, like at least sometimes with jacks. Doesn't have queens plus. So he has like 10x of clubs, and not all of that 10x is going to feel comfortable shoving this river.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is like people just don't shove thin enough to begin with. So like if he has jack 10 of clubs, like I expect him to check back sometimes. And in reality, he's probably supposed to shove every 10. And then like additionally, if he has pocket 9s, pocket 8s, that type of stuff, he should probably shove sometimes. And I expect that to happen never. So it just turns into him having 7x of hearts, pocket 10s, pocket jacks. Like that's kind of it. Like, and then obviously 3s and deuces.
Mm-hmm. Do you prefer? We probably only really barrel the turn when we have a heart. Mm-hmm. So do you prefer having the ace of hearts or the queen of hearts on river? The ace of hearts would obviously make
sense. The ace of hearts is way better.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Queen of hearts is bad.
And we did call.
Or like way worse. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure like this guy was he's not that aggressive on river. He was pretty reluctant on river, but I think like you kind of have to bluff this hand.
Yeah, it's a bluff. And like I think you have like the perfect combo to call.